Vince Coglianese, he's host of the Vince Coglianese radio show, and he's joining me right now to discuss this. Vince, you've been following the case. You and I have talked a number of times about this particular indictment. Now we know that it's coming down. There is a lot that has to line up to see this through to a conviction. And a felony charge in the state of New York of falsifying business records requires proof of intent to commit another crime or the concealing of the commission of another crime. So what else could the DA have as far as criminality, as far as proof?
Well, it's not clear. And if the other crime in question is a federal crime that was never charged by any federal body, how does Alvin Bragg demonstrate that in court? Donald Trump's going to be tried for a federal crime in a New York courtroom. None of this really makes that much sense, other than the basic point, which is that Alvin Bragg and prosecutors like him, Letitia James comes to mind, were people who ran on getting Trump. When Alvin Bragg ran for office, one of his core messages was his relentless attacks on Trump. This is the fruition of that. It is true that Alvin Bragg was among many who declined to pursue this case in the past because of its inherent weaknesses. There's a lot that's going on here, including that this amounts to Trump's own money. We're talking about $130,000 apparently. And unlike other cases, say Hillary Clinton, where she was using campaign donations in order to fund a dossier to attack Trump, she received an FEC fine for that. And this is just an amazing story, and it's bad news for the country. It's destabilizing for the country. Alvin Bragg, we talk about prosecutorial discretion. These prosecutors should be thinking really clearly about both the rule of law and the stability of society. The reason we have prosecutors is to make sure that our society is peaceful and stable and just. And this is the opposite of that. This is leading us towards more chaos, and that's a bad thing for the country.
Well, is it really leading us to more chaos? I mean, I was on Twitter, and there was somebody, just a random somebody, who tweeted out, then America was saved by a porn star, the end. Stormy Daniels' lawyer even saying the indictment of Donald Trump is no cause for joy. The hard work and conscientiousness of the grand jurors must be respected. Now let truth and justice prevail. No one is above the law. But let's talk a little bit about how this may not necessarily change anyone's life, because the truth of the matter is that if former President Donald Trump goes through all of the legal proceedings and the DA does not have that solid evidence to prove without a reasonable doubt that he is guilty of falsifying business records, then what happens? And even if he was found guilty, he can't be stopped from running for president. So then what happens?
Well, I think what it's doing is it's meddling, at least in this case, in the Republican primary. So it's an interesting thing, because you have Democrats, in this case, Alvin Bragg, and the people who support him, the people who are cheering this on, people like, Adam Schiff, very excited about all of this. Nancy Pelosi, you just saw that tweet that was put on screen. Nancy Pelosi said Trump has to go to court to prove his innocence. That's not actually true. The court has to prove his guilt. He's innocent until proven guilty. It's an important tenet of the American judicial process. And when Trump now goes center stage, he's yet again being set upon by the establishment, by the government. And the end result will be that Republican primary voters are likely to close ranks around him, and for good reason, because they see this as an attack, an unfair attack, and they see Donald Trump as a proxy for them, that they've had to endure the unfair attacks of the establishment for years. So Donald Trump's standing in the Republican primary is likely to go up as a result of this, and perhaps that's the point. That could very well be the point.
Maybe this will backfire for DA Bragg, but the Republican Party will be more unified. That would be something. Vince Coglianese, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.